Shelter FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. It's a Southern River band. They're on tour at the moment, having a very good time. I feel like I'm being tagged by this man currently. I saw him yesterday, worked with him. Saw him. He's just absolutely gallivanting around down at South River Oval in his shorts, mind you.
Yeah.
Mark Reddings joins me after a big weekend of footy.
Hello, Scoey. Yes, good to be here. And as is what Scoey's want, I just thought I'd just wander into the South Fremantle club rooms and just purchase some hot chips, which I thought I'd just scamper back up to the box and just put on a couple of extra kegs. But no, there he is, like a paparazzi bloke hiding in the corner, taking his shot, giggling like a 4-year-old. And yes, he caught me with a chicken salt on the chips.
Did you get this up on social media? Have you put it up yet? Well, if it hasn't been up,
what purpose does it serve?
Jeez, you were enjoying those chips, I'll tell you what.
I didn't really have a hangover, but I was just sort of like in that sort of zone of, I need some food just to get things rolling.
Don't worry, the vision says it all. You don't have to talk us through it. Just jump onto our social Shelter FootyCast if you want to see Mark Reddings devouring a big bucket of chips.
I'll tell you what, you'd feel the unhealthiness in it as well.
That could even get in the Thirsty Camel Clanger of the week. I mean, Skeeter, seriously, it's 1 p.m. on a Sunday. Just leave some for the rest of us, won't you? Thirsty Camel Clanger of the week. Don't run out of your favourites. Grab your shelters at Thirsty Camel. Actually, plenty going on. There's plenty going on over the weekend.
Footy, I mean, we're primarily a footy cast, so that is worthwhile discussing. And, of course, the trade period begins today.
Yes.
And ends, I think, next week with... It goes forever, really. It does take a long time to get it sorted. But there's a trade. And look, the West Coast Eagles going to be in the mix. But I think Sydney have been the club that have been most proactive early stages.
There's been some movement. Sydney, Essendon rumoured to be making up to 8 moves this trade period. So it's going to be, I think, interesting at the least. Let's start with the Western Australian sides to start with. Skeeter, Joel Hamling moves to the Swans. No compensation for the Freo Dockers. He walks out the door to his 4th football club. Geelong, Western Bulldogs, Fremantle, and of course now the Sydney Swans. Forgot about Geelong.
I forgot about Geelong. How long did he spend there?
No, not long. Not long, Skeeter. Don't know exactly. I'm pretty sure it was Geelong. I will stand corrected, but I'm sure it was.
There's question marks as to why Fremantle didn't receive any compensation, but under the rules, if you're an unrestricted free agent...
See you later.
How's there an argument?
To get?
He's over 30?
Yeah, he's given his time. I mean, this is his 4th club. It's not like he's a one-club player either. I think you have to have played over a certain amount of time to get full compensation for that.
Okay.
So like North Melbourne, for instance, like with Horn Francis, not that he walked out the door. It's not like they get a compo pick for him. They trade.
Will Todd Goldstein, will North get anything for him?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll put it this way. You mentioned four clubs for Joel Hamling. I remember a lot of humour around Dale Kickett. I think he ended up with 5.
Did he?
Yeah, he ended up with 5 clubs. You think, off the top of my head, Essendon, St Kilda, Fremantle, West Coast... there was one other club in there as well.
North? No.
Yeah, there's 5 clubs there, I'm sure, for Dale Kicker. But yeah, 4, Joel Hamling. It's
good effort.
Look, you're right. I always think of him, we always, as Bulldogs / Dockers, but there's more than a couple of clubs next to his name.
He's got the 3 states done. Tom Hickey, of course, had the 4 with Gold Coast, St Kilda, Sydney and West Coast, of course. So Joel Hamling, I think that's a good pick up by the Swans. They've been hunting for a key position player. Of course, Tom Barrass was rumoured for a little bit to there with others as well. But they get Joel Hamling, who at his best, I think, is an AFL fullback, still able to produce at the highest level. I mean, we saw him in that Waffle Grand Final. We spoke about that last week. I think it's a good move. That's Fremantle. Another one out the door alongside Liam Henry. He will go. I just think for Freo... I've got 2022 period over again. They're losing role players. Liam Henry and Joel Hamling. They're not the best players on the list, but that's another 2 out the door on top of the 5 out the door last year. And they replaced with Luke Jackson and they brought in a Corbett. And I'm hoping you can throw another couple of names at me. But they brought some players in, but the players out is 7, and they're all in that tier of players that provide depth for your list. I don't think it's a good thing for Freo. I think they've got to get some sort of... they've got to get someone back in the door that covers those missing players.
Experienced players, you mean? Someone who's got a bit of time in the system, yeah.
Correct. You can't just go to the draft and keep hoping to build if you're building this premiership squad they're trying to build.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think the Hamling one, the only counterpoint to that is that I think he only played 3 games in the last couple of years. He is great cover, but they're reasonably well served in defence, albeit Alex Pearce's injuries have been pretty prevalent during his career. Brendan Cox, of course, down back. But
who's next?
You're probably right. The lack of depth in that area is a concern. That's why they offered him a late contract, Fremantle, in terms of what they wanted to try and keep him for that very reason.
Why are they offering him a late contract? Why isn't he a priority given Alex Pearce's injury concerns? I mean, they don't have a key position back to come in and play. They've got two really young players in the mix there. I think that's a list position.
That being said, Joel Hamling hasn't exactly enjoyed an injury-free run the last couple of years. So, I agree with what you're saying. I think ideally they'd have him at the club as backup. I don't think he's been a priority for that reason.
Well, I think it's clear, in terms of talk about priorities, I think it's clear Fremantle don't value players below their top 22. They're not coming to the party with players in that 22 to 32 players, that 10 players that you need. You're not going to go through a season on injury.
Premiership teams are won by often the last 5 or 10 spots on your list.
Fremantle, and you can only judge them by their actions. They don't value them, mate, because they come to the table at the last second and hopefully they're going to get a deal done. They don't have the clout because players are going, well, nah, see you later. I'll get something better somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I think your point last year was really good about who the Dockers lost or gave away, more so lost because of money and opportunities. This year, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as significant. Liam Henry, obviously, Joel Hamling, and no one else that I can think of at the top of my head who's
Not yet.
Oh, you think them?
No, I don't know.
No, you're such a dick.
Sean Darcy rumoured to have a very long-term contract in front of him. Very close. Apparently.
Yeah.
Which would be good to see. I'd like to see him sign on. Matt Flynn, let's go to the West Coast Eagles. He gets to the West Coast. Pick 40 compensation for the GWS Suns. So I'm not sure, again, how all of that actually works. It's probably like the Duckworth-Lewis system, some numbers going up and down and ins and outs. That's a great get for them. We spoke about that last week. Devon Robertson, who we thought was a bit of a lay-down misère to get to West Coast.
Well, no, you and I discussed this last week. You were thinking he should go to the Eagles for the opportunities and not just hanging around for a premiership. I was probably more on the other side of it.
You're saying you're right.
No, I think it's a 50-50 call. In fact, Brisbane were probably thinking they were out of the race at one point. But, if Brisbane finished 6th or 7th this year and Devon Robertson's at the club and played in the last game of the season, do you think that would have changed the narrative as to what we've seen happen? Because when you're playing a grand final, Scully, and a losing one particularly, there's something like you've been robbed of something where you haven't quite quenched the thirst.
Yeah.
Is that a fair call when it comes to a player?
And have the drive and a connection with those guys that you played in that grand final with. So I agree. And I think he was in a prime position. A West Australian guy away from home. He's always going to be someone on West Coast list.
Yep.
In terms of players they're interested in. 2 years time, 5 years
exactly.
time. He's a young guy. I think he's probably made the right call. But West Coast, understandably disappointed because he's a good player.
No question. And look, he was, I don't know the young man, but apparently in terms of leadership, he's got some really good qualities there as well.
There you go. Would not surprise me given he's Darren Glass's nephew. Let's have a look around the rest of the AFL, Skeet. A couple of big things happened since we last spoke. Clayton Oliver, not going anywhere. Nothing to see here.
There was something to see there. I'm sure there was something to see there, but we didn't get to see what was there. It's a good result for Melbourne. Maybe inadvertently it's panned out pretty well for the D's because it's a kick up the backside if he needed one. That's only coming from the outside. If he needed to improve his behaviour or his rehab standards, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. But at any time a player moves in with the captain and his partner, and outside of just trying to find a new house in a new state, there was some smoke there, surely.
He's going pretty well for someone with professional standard issues, given he's like a 4-time All-Australian. Is he 2-time best and fairest winner?
Yeah, premiership player. Yeah,
he's going, and I understand, maybe sweep over some cracks. That's not the saying, but I'll say that. Sweep a bit of problems under the rug, should we say. But he's not a basket case that can't roll out there every week. At the moment, but clearly,
if you're using this year as a gauge, I don't know whether the hamstring injury, obviously how severe it was, but there's something underneath all of that, the club's perspective, and maybe some have suggested even given
he's won 4 in best and fairest.
Yeah,
won 4 best and fairest,
which is putting him in that's elite territory. That's Marcus Bontempelli type in terms of what he's done on the ground. Right. Now, off field, I don't know. I don't know him from bar of soap, to be honest with you. But
neither do I.
So, off the back of that, there's been questions about the coach, about whether he sets the right standards for that footy club.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I think, hopefully from a Melbourne perspective, and Clary's perspective, they get to a position where he continues to play good footy and is settled off the field. Now, what that means with regards to what he's doing off the field, I've no idea. But if he's had a couple of issues, and maybe the alarm bells have gone off.
It is always an interesting conversation about players on field versus off field.
Yeah.
And it is relevant, of course it is. But there is a point sometimes with me, and I think, well, where's the line of public interest versus, if it's affecting your playing career, I think it's definitely of interest in the media. But when there are things that are happening off the field that are separate to performance and maybe mental health related or other, I do ask the question sometimes in my own head. It's like, I wonder how deep we should be going into this, given no one actually knows Clayton very well. I wouldn't have thought.
Well, those of us talking about it, obviously, the footy club know. Yeah.
So I always question. I wonder how far we go in here. But he's going nowhere. Melbourne keep their man, 4-time best and fairest winner, 3-time All Australian. He's a good player. Now, let's stay on Melbourne for a tiny sec. They had their best and fairest over the weekend. I thought this one was interesting. Let me read you a quote, Skeeter. We lose to Collingwood and they go on to win the flag. It fucking hurts watching that. We're a better team than them. We should have smoked them. To sit there grand final day and watch them hoist the cup, get the medals, I'm sitting there going, geez, our team is so much better than these guys. Quote unquote, Stephen May at the best and fairest. I love the honesty. I'll start with that. I like the honesty. What do you say?
No, there's a massive part of me that in the media, we always bemoan the fact that footballers come out with just crap, benign, boring answers. That is not one of those. That, in fact, reminds me of maybe a Philadelphia Eagle linebacker after losing the Super Bowl or not getting through to the divisional playoff. But I know it's going to come back to bite him on the arse. Yeah. In terms of, you remember Ed Langdon had the all duck, no dinner comment directed at Collingwood.
That's right.
And guess what? They target him. Look, I think it's great for them. The Collingwood boys to sit back and have a giggle at that. And I agree with you in many respects. If that's how he feels, I mean, let's also break it down. They're 0-4 in their last four finals. They can talk about inside 50s and should have beaten Collingwood. They should have beaten Carlton. They haven't done that. They didn't beat Brisbane last year. They lost their last 4 finals. So it's more about what Melbourne has to do about themselves and other teams not being good enough. So I think
I can see where he's coming from.
Yeah, you can see where he's coming from. End of the day, they haven't been good enough.
Yeah, you're dead right. Look, what he said in part is true. They may have a better team than Collingwood. They may, on paper, even in games, be playing better than Collingwood. But at the end of the day, you win or you lose. Yeah. And if you lose, you're not a better side. And so we copped this a bit in 2018. Richmond was the best side of that year, is what I've heard. We beat Richmond when we played them during the year.
Here?
Yeah, smacked them. That was the only time we played them. Yep. Smacked them by 8 goals.
So let me ask you this question on that.
Yes.
Do you, and we'll never know, do you honestly believe you would have beaten them in the GF if they'd got through?
Doesn't matter, does it?
No, it does matter. 5 years down the track.
I'll say yes. Yeah, we would have smashed them. So, I don't know.
No.
But that's the point I'm making is, okay, you can say, could have done this, could have done that. We were the best side that year. We fell in the prelim.
Didn't happen.
To win the premiership, you need to win a prelim, right? And if you can't do that, you're not the best side. So Collingwood was the best side this year. It doesn't matter what happened.
100%.
Doesn't matter what you think. You can not like them like me. You can love them like supporters. They're the best side. End of story. It does not actually matter about anything. And so these sides and, Richmond, I've heard Richmond people talk about, we're the best side, unlucky in 18. Stiff shit. The best side wins the flag. It doesn't matter how you play. You play to win the grand final, not to be the best side, correct?
And conversely, if Collingwood, they lost a prelim to the Giants one year, if they'd gotten through,
last year they lost to Sydney. They should have won that, right?
Yeah, exactly. But then again, Geelong were easily the best side last year. They may not have won the grand final if Collingwood had got through, but end of the day...
But Geelong was the best side because they won the grand final.
Totally, 100%.
Not because of how they played during the year.
No, 100%.
Doesn't matter.
But during the year, it sets up the position to get you through to a grand final. So, look, Stephen May, I quite like it. I'm not bagging him for being honest, but I just reckon there'd be Gary Pert and a few of the Simon Goodwin would be sitting back going, if you're a coach, you hope he's not saying it.
Yeah, correct. Let's move to Collingwood now. Their vice-captain, Taylor Adams, requests a trade to Sydney. This is a big one, probably the biggest one over the weekend in terms of trade deals. He's this is a quote from Collingwood. He informed us yesterday he'd like to look at a possible move to Sydney. This is them posturing up, by the way, Collingwood. He is contracted. We'll have to look at it, and he knows it could potentially not get done, and he will play for us if it doesn't. Collingwood don't want to lose him, but I think they know the writing's on the wall. So as a Collingwood, you're going to say, well, he's our vice captain. He's a required player, but he wants out.
I'm not sure where the salary cap sits with Collingwood. They did a big dump a few years ago. I think in the pick 20s, early 20s, I think there's some discussion as to where Taylor Adams goes. And look, it's a really tough one for him because 3 weeks ago he's flying, he's a vice captain, and he's thinking premiership. Does a little hamstring, not overly significant, but you called it early. I think most people understood once he'd done his hamstring. I think a couple of weeks out from the GF, it was always going to be tough. So he's come so close to being a Collingwood premiership player. And off the back of that, I just wonder whether he would have still requested a trade. He may still have. But that's, the sliding door moments in life, Scully, in footy particular in September, quite significant for Taylor Adams.
The psyche is interesting, as you say, if he wins it, he's a premiership player. Does he feel fulfilled and he leaves regardless? I'd have to say this isn't something that's come across his desk after the grand final. He would have known Sydney had approached his management, I'm sure, so he would have known it was a possibility. Before the grand final. So this wouldn't be a new thing to him, and he's gone, well, now I've lost it, I need to go and get to a new team. Don't think he's done that. That hasn't happened.
No, not thinking for 1 minute, but just if you'd played in that grand final and been a premiership player, how difficult is it then to say, no, I want out? That, to me...
We've seen it done.
Oh, absolutely. But you see it in NRL, it's like, you just move on to your next club, and you've already got something in place.
Scott Lycett, 2018.
Yeah, exactly. It's a modern way of doing it, but yeah, it's still you have to be a bit torn because you've just experienced the greatest football moment of your life, and then you're saying, "See you, boys, I'm off."
I don't know what happens there. He probably gets there in the end, and it means Sydney. How about these acquisitions? Joel Hamling, we speak about that. Brody Grundy is going to that football club, and Taylor Adams. I mean, they're three pretty big ins. It changes your football club a bit. That's a spine.
Absolutely, and Brody gets a good look at it in the ruck. By himself, essentially, doesn't he? Adams is sort of in the wings, and they've used other players as backup McLean, but no, he's...
I've got a feeling Brody Grundy has a big season next year.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Sydney style
and I hope he
player.
does, because to be fair, didn't want to leave Collingwood, went to Melbourne, probably had doubts about matching it and being a support act to Max Gawn, and he hasn't said anything publicly that makes me think he's a sook. I think he's just thought, well, you know what? I'll keep pushing on. So I hope he has a really good year.
If we just stay in sort of trade period and moving of picks, I think this one's an interesting. The Bulldogs are trying to get their hands on pick 4, apparently. They're trying to move up in the draft. So that's currently Gold Coast's pick.
Haven't the Gold Coast got some currency?
They've got some currency because they're shit. Now, this is from the Ages, Michael Gleeson. The Dogs would give up 10, 17 and their future first. So 10, 17, both first rounders.
It's a lot.
And their future first.
Which is a massive...
So that's 3 first rounders.
For what? Number 4?
Gold Coast pick 4 and 2 third rounders and 2024 third rounder. A few junk picks. I think if that deal gets done, that's good for the West Coast Eagles with this pick 1 trade. Because if you can get pick 4 for 3 first rounders, that's an absolute bottom basement deal the West Coast should be looking at. And I think that's around the mark for what West Coast should look at for pick 1. 3 first rounders plus maybe even a player. If that deal gets done, it's very good for the West Coast Eagles.
Now, there's some Travis Kelce potentially attached to this for me, but you're saying the Bulldogs to give up pick 10, pick 17 and a future first rounder for pick 4.
And some numbers off the back of it.
Oh, okay.
They may have a what are they called, academy player that they need some picks for.
Okay, that's making more sense now, but I'm thinking pick 4 and you've got 10, 17 and a future first. That to me is... That's very brave in that sense. But again, I'm talking out of school because I've got no idea what they've got up their sleeve academy-wise. Thank you, Tay-Tay.
Have you seen that? They called him Mr. Pfizer. Aaron Rodgers called him Mr. Pfizer. So I don't know if you've been following along at this. So
the relationship, you mean?
No. So there's the Taylor Swift stuff which is going on. But then Travis Kelce's done an ad for Pfizer, which of course big drug corporation over in America.
Yes.
He's done I don't know what the ad is. Rodgers on Pat McAfee show just casually referred to him. He was breaking down the game Jets v Kansas City and just casually sort of said, we took control of Mr. Pfizer, right? And they all lost their shit. Travis Kelce had a press conference later in the week. Called him Mr. Johnson & Johnson because the owner of the Jets is like a major shareholder in Johnson & Johnson, which is another drug site. So I just think it's quite humorous over there. All the while Travis Kelce's knocking off Taylor Swift. So I think he comes out on top, literally and proverbially.
Big get. I mean, and
it's a big get.
So suddenly my girls who haven't heard of Travis Kelce, didn't know that he was actually a decent athlete in his own right. Suddenly they know who the Kansas City Chiefs are. And their numbers at games have gone up. His Instagram following's gone through the roof. His jersey sales are up 400%. That's priceless. And as you say, he's just taking her on the private jet and doing as he pleases.
It's a big get, Skate Records. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast.
Best trade of the year.
It's a great acquisition, Skater. Now, let's get out of footy for just a moment, Skater. There's a couple of other sports. There was a couple of big things happening. The Cricket World Cup is underway for Australia. India knock them off by 6 wickets in Chennai.
Yeah,
tell me about it because I did not see it.
No, you're big on your cricket. I know you're all over the World Cup. They were in a lot of trouble at dismissed for 199. We made a bit of a slow start. Our batting was maybe because the pitch didn't allow us to, and their spinners.
We made 199 or they made?
No, we made 199.
That's terrible.
Dismissed for one. Smith, Labuschagne, a little cautious from the outside about the way they played their cricket, and their spinners are better than ours. So we've got Adam Zampa, who went for 53 from 8 overs. Glenn Maxwell, none for 30-odd.
The part-timer.
Gary Lyon, the GOAT's put his hand up and said, if there's another injury, I'm keen to come over. He's not really a great, I don't think, one-day bowler, but given our spinning depth at the moment, which is pretty average, and our batting, perhaps, I'm not sure our batting is conducive to winning a World Cup on the subcontinent, we're in massive trouble. We're in all sorts because India, if they prepare pitches like that throughout, their spinners will obviously thrive. So no surprise we're beaten by India, but to make less than 200 after winning the toss and batting's not great. We've got South Africa on Thursday. Yeah, I'm not holding great hopes for the Aussies on that front. Mind you, England got rolled by New Zealand, which is good to see. I'm pretty happy to see the Kiwis bounce the Poms early on, and hopefully
you like seeing England win. England lost.
Absolutely, I love seeing England lose.
Oh, they lost. I thought you said all right.
Yeah,
sorry.
New Zealand beat them, and if we're barracking for a team outside of Australia, and I don't think Australia can win it.
To anyone playing England.
Yeah, but New Zealand. Yeah. I think New Zealand's. I think we've got a bit of admiration for them. No, I think so. I think compared to England, be great because they got robbed in the World Cup in 2019. They play cricket in a great spirit. I hope they go deep. And look, we've still got a chance, but we'd have to change a few things. And India on the subcontinent, and the big match, by the way, down the track, India-Pakistan.
Right.
That is like...
Yeah, that would be... Wasn't Virat Kohli saying... Put an Instagram story up saying, don't hit me up for tickets. Did you see that?
Well, I didn't
see it. He said
to
my friends and family, please stop asking for tickets. Watch the game at home. There's no tickets left.
We'll say I interviewed Justin Langer on radio on Saturday and I said, just how do you describe, because we saw India-Pakistan at the T20 World Cup and the atmosphere is just enormous. And I know, even though you're not a cricket man, the noise and the excitement. Yeah. I said, JL, how do you compare this? He said, well, mate, I reckon if you put two bunches of Collingwood supporters at the MCG, like 100,000 all barracking for Pakistan or India, that feral nature, I'd reckon you've summed it up. That's JL.
Thanks for joining us, JL.
I tried to put that.
That's very good.
He's very passionate.
Where is he? Is he?
He's here, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's here. And he's got a lot of fingers in pies, and we've discussed the Eagles board and the coaching appointment or the coaching decision of Simo. And he's up and about, JL. A bit of coaching in the IPL as well.
Oh, don't worry, he's bounced back right on his feet.
No, he's going beautifully.
Now, let's get out of cricket for a little bit. Kelvin Kiptum.
Yes, 2 hours and 35 seconds. Now, I can relate to him because...
What's he done?
A world record in the marathon.
Oh, marathon.
Yeah,
right.
So the only thing I can compare is that I think I ran, going back a bit, half marathon in about 2 hours and 10 minutes. So I sort of know what it's like to run for 2 hours, but only 21 Ks, if you get me.
Tell you what, Kelvin Kiptum. So he's broken the marathon world record at 2023 Chicago Marathon. Notoriously, is a good place to run marathon skate. I know a little bit about running. Yeah,
in Chicago.
Yeah, it's flat.
It's a windy city.
Yeah, it's quite flat though. Skate protected by the buildings out there, I think, in the hills. Now, so 23 years old. 23 years
Thanks,
old.
Barack Obama, who's a Chicago native, for giving us that update.
23-year-old. He's actually from Hawaii, but 23-year-old.
Oh, well, he's born there.
Yeah, okay. Well, that would say where he's native from. Now, the 23-year-old clocked 2 hours 35 seconds.
Yeah, I said that at the start. Yep.
He eclipsed Kipchoge's
another Kenyan.
Yes, previous record by 34 seconds. So that's decent
And,
margin.
he's 23 years of age. He hadn't run a marathon until 12 months ago. That is a freakish performance.
Yeah.
And so, off the back of that, you would think that at 2 hours and 35, it mightn't be long before we see a marathon run inside 2 hours, which is akin, William John Schofield, to running a 4-minute mile sub 4 minutes, which is what Roger Bannister did in 1954.
What's a mile?
A mile, exactly. Well, it's different to a kilometre. But you looked at me with a blank look, but Roger Bannister, a very famous time in sport where to break the 1954 for the second time, he broke the 4-minute mile. That's what, 46, around 60 odd years ago.
So you're putting this in context for people, or giving us an example.
Well, exactly.
For
Marathon
1954, is that right?
to the mile. Yeah, it was.
Great context.
That was the context of it.
I'll give you some context that's relevant. Now, is that all right? Because
but you like that sort of stat? How do you know that? I said, well, I wasn't born in 54, Sky, but history, you learn these things.
Like, honestly, there'd be half the people listening that would not know what a mile is. Do you know how far it is in metres? Do you know?
No, I don't.
It's about 1,630 metres, Skeeter.
Well done. So you think of that, to run that under 4 minutes, going back a long time ago. It's quick.
Real quick. But real context for you. The 2-minute 51 kilometre per kilometre pace that he did.
Yep.
Right, so he did 2:51s for 42 kilometres, 42 and a bit. The fastest player at this year's AFL Draft Combine did his 2 kilometre time trial at 2-minute 54 pace. So our mate Kelvin has run for 42 kilometres faster than anyone could do it in just 2 kilometres.
That's a great stat.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
That's amazing. And just to finalise that, I did Lake Mungo the other week.
Is that right?
About 19 minutes. So that
How fast is that 3 kilometres?
What's wrong with that?
That's the context we're looking for.
But I did accelerate a couple of times because you had to accelerate, because you know what it's like when you're running along and there's an attractive woman coming the other way. You have to lift the chest, throw the shoulders up, and pretend that you're running with some degree of conviction.
Gusto.
Gusto. And then as soon as she goes past me and doesn't even look my way, I go back to Cliff Young.
What's the best case for scenario then? You think seriously? I'll tell you what, Will Schofield, Mark Reading, Shelter FootyCast. If you want some interesting times while the AFL season is done and dusted, head down to Lake Mungo to see Skeet and cheer him on.
By myself, try not to fall into the pond. Hey, just on the draft combine. I'm not sure if we're going to touch on it.
We're on there right now.
Let's go. Aidan O'Driscoll, what a star from Perth Footy Club, Colts. He won the 20-metre sprint, 2.6 something seconds.
2.871 seconds.
There we go. So 2.871 seconds. So quick. Just so you know, obviously the brother of Nathan and the brother of Emma, who was best on ground for Fremantle yesterday in the AFLW, lost to North Melbourne. But he showed a bit of his class in the Colts grand final, kicking the first 2 goals of the game against Claremont. Speed. You tell me, Scott, how much do recruiters look at just these individual tests?
Well, they look at them for sure, because if you can test by the eye. This isn't going to get you drafted alone.
No.
You need to combine this with the ability to play football, right?
That's very handy.
But if you're in a group of 200 players and maybe 20 of those play in your position, you're a 1 in 20 chance of getting picked up at that spot. If you go out and you're the fastest of those 20 or the fastest of those 200, that's not a bad thing.
Can't help but impress.
Nah, it puts your name in lights. We know he's quick. Sometimes it's actually a little bit to do with technique and some of these testings as well. So I watched him do it. He had the big high arm to start with, so he's trying not to break the timer.
So essentially, you're not starting like a 100-metre sprint at the Olympics.
No, it's a standing start, and if you start with your arm in front of you, like you're standing like that, you can break the timer with your hand. So he started above his head, and that's his first movement. So he clearly was well trained on how to do these.
Yeah, Lance Collard from Subiaco also.
Agility test winner. Very
good agility. Now, he was very strong for Subi in the Colts. I think kicked 4 or 5 in a final this year. An NGA player off the top of my head as well, and he's been doing some work at the Footy Commission. So Lance Collard, I think, is someone that will go in the draft. Where and how that plays out remains to be seen. The other West Aussies that I think worth noting, Colton Tolstrup from Subi, played league footy, and generally at the testing was excellent. And you might have some more.
And it is Tolstrup.
Yeah, with not it's Tur. I've been told by his dad. So for what it's worth, you'll have to get used to that name moving forward.
He ran 6:17 in the 2K time trial, which is not too bad.
When I've seen him play footy, in all seriousness, so he has got the skills to really translate. When you go from Colts to league and he fits in seamlessly, a bit like Dan Curtin, you know that there's a good path for him moving forward.
Our man Zane Zakostelski.
Thank
you very much. Continued his rise up the draft boards with a big vertical leap and a 2.95 in the 20-metre sprint for a 194-centimetre player.
Yeah, but he's not a ruckman apparently. I've asked Adam Jones of the Footy Commission. A bit small for a ruckman, yep. So... But what he did in the ruck for Claremont in the Colts, winning the Melbourne medal, was outstanding. So Zane, of Austrian descent, has got a lot of potential. Hadn't played a lot of footy or certainly elite footy until recently. So ZZ on top at the draft combine.
Okay, thank you. How long have you been working on that for?
Well, I did a story for the Commission about 3 months ago. And then the West, of course, pinched it today as their headline. So
okay.
Anyway, that's okay.
That's right. Trademark, Mark.
Sorry, I sit there all day thinking.
Trademark Readings. Okay. Now, I got some stats for you, Skate.
Yeah.
I thought, with rolling out all these drafting, people are thinking, oh, that's good. These kids are good. How about some context? We're talking about context. And we went all the way back to 1954 for some...
Roger Bannister. Yeah.
Well, let's go back all the way back to 2006 draft combine results, Skater. I've looked them up. The shuttle run.
Was that you?
Beep test.
That
is
you?
right.
Oh, of course. So go back to your year, yep.
Top 10... Simon Hogan topped that one out with Tim Houlihan, who was drafted the West Coast Eagles, 15.4. At number 7 in the country, young Will Schofield, 14.4.
So the first two players you mentioned there, their careers in AFL level?
50 games-ish each.
Yep.
Shane Edwards was third. Of course, played 300 games. Basher Hooley was fourth.
Wow, okay. Now we're talking about... So there's, some real quality early.
James Thompson, son of Michael, was fifth at 14.8. Joe Anderson, who played a bit of footy, 14.4. Nathan Jacuro, who was drafted to Geelong, 14.4. And Will Schofield, Lockie Hansen, who went at number 4 in that draft. We were both on 14.4. And David Armitage topped out to top 10, the captain of St Kilda at one stage, 14.3. So some quality. The 3K time trial. Tell you what, I was doing well. 7th in this one, Skeeter. It's pretty much the same names if you look across these and no real other standouts. But I just wanted to say, these kids have got it easy. 2K, how about take another kilometre on it? We had to do a 3K.
3K?
2K time trial, easy as you like.
Yeah, but then did you have the...
10 minutes 34, so that's 3 minute 31 K pace.
That's something.
It's not too bad.
It's good.
It's not great.
Well, for me,
Top
it is.
7 in the country. It would have been very good. Tell you what.
Lake Munga.
Girls around Lake Munga would have been stopping to watch.
Flying.
That was a good 20 years ago. Jumped on the scales this morning. Not looking good. Not looking good at all.
Mate, add another 20 years and you'll be a fat prick like... Well, not so much, but you just have to hold the fort. Well, just
what are you holding?
Well, hold the fort to make sure you don't just blow out into the Michelin Man.
Double-handed holding something. Will Schofield, Mark Reading, Shelter FootyCast. And let's get back into a couple of the big trade moments, Skeeter, because trade week has started. I have been told by our good man Jaden on the decks. Tom Doedee officially aligned. Adelaide decide not to match the deal.
No.
Crows set to receive a round 1 compensation pick on this one. Pick 19 for Doedee.
Yeah. He's got a knee recode to overcome, but we've talked about this, I think, last week, that Brisbane, they need... Well, a bit of help for Harris Andrews in defence, and hopefully Doedee can do that, because that's where they look vulnerable on grand final day to me. Just thought, if Harris Andrews goes down, they're suddenly not such a dominant side.
Yep, a good goal. I just don't know when he's going to come back into the side. I wouldn't expect too much from him next season, Brisbane Lions fans. Paddy Dow requests a trade to his 3rd club in St Kilda. He was a top 5 draft pick. Could have been top 3, maybe.
And he only got a look late in this season. I think he had 8 clearances against the Giants, or had a reasonable return, but of course didn't find players missing from that match. Couldn't work his way back into the side. Are you questioning?
Who was he drafted by?
Oh, good question.
Was he drafted by Carlton? I thought he was drafted by Carlton.
Yes.
What side's he at right now? Carlton. I thought he was moving to his 3rd club, but maybe that's incorrect. He's asking to be traded to St Kilda.
Yeah, well, I think he's been frustrated for a year or two. I don't think this is just 2022. I think he's found it hard to break into a side.
A good side.
Yeah, well, back half of the year, this good side, but they haven't been for a while. So, yeah, probably not a bad move for him.
What I've seen from Paddy for a top 3 pick, and that adds some expectation to your career. I don't think he's lived up to that from what I can see. So, maybe a change of scenery does that for him. Let me know if I have got that right or wrong, Jane. Mubby or Chol requests a trade to Hawthorn. I think it's a good move by Hawthorn. We've seen him alongside Levi Casbolt, and now King's back in the mix at the Gold Coast Suns. I think Chol's sort of riding on the wall. More opportunity in a side that really needs a big key forward like that.
Yeah, I think Damien Hardwick was at Richmond when he was at Richmond, so maybe
that's interesting.
Yeah, I just
hadn't
think
thought about that.
Yeah, so I just think Dimmer probably doesn't rate him, but just doesn't think that he's the player that he's seen enough of him to think, no, he just looks a bit laconic, a bit not lazy, but it sometimes drops his head when things aren't going well, a bit like us in life generally when things aren't just going... Like Munger. At about the 2K mark. But no, look, he's a talent. There's no question he's got talent. And I think Sam Mitchell, the key is whether he can unlock the key for him to bring out his best footy on a more consistent basis. But, yeah, he's... I think who's leaving Hawthorn? Is it Kaczynski who's going to Richmond?
Yeah, I believe so. So they're trying to replace that.
Yeah.
Look, they'll be running a role-based system in Hawthorn next year, and they have this year where they got defined roles and they want to plug and play young guys into doing them. They need a competitor that's able to either win or halve contests in front of the footy. They're not getting in a guy that's going to kick 60 goals. He's not going to kick 60, but he will provide a Batman and Robin type areas for Mitch Lewis. Mitch Lewis is a guy that can kick 60 goals.
He'll be the focus.
You need a Chol or anyone that can stand up there, take another defender, make sure there's not 2-on-1 on Mitch Lewis. That's what they want, and that's what Sam Mitchell will be thinking. So this is a little one. Swans D-list Will Gould. For those fantasy fans out there, this guy's been on the edge of selection for the last 4 years. And they've got rid of him. Sydney have delisted a bunch of guys. They've done all of these moves over the weekend, but he was probably the main one of the rest of them. James Jordan, a Swan pick 39 compensation. James Jordan, of course, from Melbourne,
and famously or infamously was
he was a sub
here at Optus Stadium in the grand final.
That's right.
Which
premiership player,
a premiership player, but he'd almost feel a little bit unfulfilled as well, wouldn't you? I don't think he got on the ground, did he?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or did they bring him on very late?
I don't think he got on. I
reckon you'd take it.
If you're of course you take it. But if you're the coach, give him 5 minutes. You're up by 70 points.
Yes.
Couldn't you give him a 5 minute? Anyway,
that's a good point.
I just think it's going back to that match. Yeah. Good luck to him in the Swans again. Very active.
Now, just to finish off all this trade chat, should clubs receive compensation when a free agent leaves? So this is the one. This is an unrestricted free agent,
which is a Joel Hamling type.
Yes. Should they? Because you questioned it. Do you think
No, I didn't question it, but people have questioned it. I said, well, the rules suggest no. So I'm not sure whether there's any headlines saying, wow, this is the Dockers have been stitched up here, which that's just the way it rolls. No, I haven't got any strong feelings on that. If you've served your time at that age bracket, then I think a bit of flexibility is good.
Trade period started today, as we said, 9 a.m. Eastern. It is running until October 18. Clubs have until 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You probably could knock that on the head at 5 p.m. I reckon.
Maybe
want a bit of air time, clearly.
Or maybe if there's a Stan Doco coming out to show me the money version 3, they might be able to just give that a bit more massaging.
We're given the key position movement this year. Draft nominations open on October 10. I might have to consider that. That's tomorrow. I'll have a think about it overnight, Skeet, if that's all right. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. Just want to go through a couple of the best and fairest winners over the past little bit, Skate. I think this is an interesting little chat, just given how some of these teams went throughout. I got about 6 teams to go through. Adelaide, Jordan Dawson wins that one over Rory Laird and Taylor Walker. Some senior players. This is a side which I think can make some movement next year. They were good, not great this year. They beat some good sides, but were inconsistent, not only throughout the season, game by game, but within games. They showed some inconsistencies, but they improved as a side.
I'd say 2 words or one name: Ben Keys. Goal. They play finals. That's that.
Wow.
That's and look. So I reckon they were the side that is a bit like Hawthorn, the asterisks, thinking this is a team I think that's going north next year. And Jordan Dawson been an outstanding acquisition.
Yeah. Captain, best and fair. That's one of the better trades you'll ever see, I reckon. Carlton, the John Nichols medal. Jacob Wiedering wins his 2nd best and fairest at Carlton. A good one, a full back. In a year they make the prelim. I don't know where that sits and whether that's sort of the areas they should have, whether it was overachieved, underachieved, but they certainly had their run of emotion coming into the final series. Nick Newman, another backman, was second in this count. Charlie Curnow third with 174, so 210, 193, 174. Carlton go one better next year?
Oh, no guarantees. No, absolutely not. But they've got the basis, and as Vossi said, at the count, essentially you can finish a year like they did last year, heartbroken about what might have been and feeling really sick about it. This year, obviously they fell one game short of a grand final, but hopefully instead of disappointment, the burn to succeed is stronger than the disappointment of missing a GF.
The Copeland Trophy, the Collingwood Best and Fairest, was over the weekend, and would you fucking believe it? Josh and Nick Dacos, side by side, we stick together. They are 1 and 2, but Josh gets it done. He's the better footballer.
I did 6PR the other day, and Josh came up as the Copeland Trophy winner. And look, I've got no doubt that he deserved to win under the voting.
He was all Australian.
Yeah, no question with that. But just given the way that Nick dominated the headlines and obviously missed the last month of footy, but I thought probably Nick would have enough votes to win it. But that's great for Josh. And yeah, the Dacos double continues.
Best and fairest in a premiership year.
Pretty significant.
That's
pretty significant.
Is that better than a Brownlow medal?
I'll tell you what,
I would think it is.
I'd be taking that absolutely.
Yeah,
mate, premiership and the best and fair. That is, I think that's the complete quinella. If you're a footballer, I mean, Lachie Neale will end up with 2, maybe 3 Brownlows.
That's
but
a good example.
Flag.
Who would you rather be? Lachie Neale, not all Australian this year, but Josh Dacos, best and fairest premiership,
absolutely.
Or Lachie Neale, runner-up in a grand final,
and two Brownlows next to his name now.
Who would you rather be?
I'd still rather be Dacos, yeah. And you'd say the same, surely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good question. Thank you, Riley. Essendon, is it the Crichton or Crichton?
Crichton medal.
Yeah, Crichton medal. Zach Merritt wins his 4th.
Gets so much of the footy, doesn't he?
Gun. Cole Langford, been a bit of a story this year. He provided them something in front of the footy. He was second in the count. And Mason Redman, it's good to see some backmen getting some recognition. Don't often say that. He's 3rd place, Mason Redman. Essendon need to improve rapidly over the off-season. Yeah,
although the halfway mark of the year, they're probably playing finals, weren't they? So I know it must be gut-wrenching to see Carlton kick on when the Bombers falter, but they're, as you said, pretty active during the postseason. Todd Goldstein will come across as a backup to Sam Draper. Yeah, I think they can build again. Essendon, they have to because they're pretty putrid the back end of the season, but there were some good signs this year at various stages.
They're going to be active in the trade period. I think is Dersma? Is he linked?
He's been talked about him. I mean, looks like Shield might be going to St Kilda from Essendon. Is it Gresham or one? Saint possibly going in that direction? But I think they're going to be more proactive than dormant.
Geelong, the Kaji Greaves medal. Tom Stewart wins his 2nd. They underachieved this year. Tom Atkins 2nd. And Lionel Messi was 3rd at Geelong.
Underachieved, but mate, you win a flag. I'm telling you, it's going to be the same for Collingwood next year, albeit they're a slightly younger side.
Geelong missed the finals.
Yeah, I know that's massive. I totally get that, but they missed the finals. They've also, you just remember the build from the last 7-8 years. They've been consistently contending, and after a while, there's at some stage you have a blip on the radar.
Absolutely love this result. The Kevin Sheedy medal, the GWS Best and Fairest. Toby Green wins his 2nd because a lot of people thought Tom might get this one. Toby Green's wins on 71 votes. Stephen Cornelio and Tom Green equals 2nd. What an outstanding year from Toby Green. All-Australian, captain of the footy club. He wins a Best and Fairest. He played about as well as you could play as a small forward in the league, I reckon. Inspired choice as captain of that footy club, no question. And Tom Green, the more I see of him, the more you think that the Giants have got another level to go to next year. Hawthorn, the Peter Crimmins medal. Will Day, 125 votes. Jai Newcombe on 2nd with 123. And Connor Nash, 114. This top 3 for mine is the most interesting of the lot. Will Day, very young. They signed him to a long-term deal, a South Australian. Jai Newcombe, a rookie player from 2-3 years ago. I think was he a mid-season pickup? I'm pretty sure Possibly. He was a mid-season draft pickup. He's 2nd place in the Best and Fairest. And Connor Nash, this giant that runs around in the midfield. I'm really excited with what Hawthorn's going to bring in the next 3 years. But don't be surprised if you don't see this big jump up the ladder that I think people will expect next year. They're going to be a slower build. They won't be expecting to be challenging for a premiership for probably another 3 or 4 years. So
But I
they'll
think
improve.
they can still be 8th to 10th. I think that'd be a natural progression. But you're right, it doesn't just ordinarily the graph doesn't go one way like the stock market. There can be some major hiccups and hurdles and injuries, so nothing guaranteed.
Melbourne, the Bluey Truscott medal. Christian Petrarca wins his second on 602 votes.
What are they giving?
Votes are we giving?
50 a game or something, are we?
602. Bloody
Is
hell.
it touches for the year or votes?
Holy shit. Jack Viney, second place. So Christian Petrarca's won this easy. 5.27, and Jake Lever, third position. No real surprises with Petrarca winning this one.
No, could have won the Brownlow. Perhaps unlucky not to win the Brownlow.
Talking about unlucky not to win the Brownlow, Sydney, the Bob Skilton medal. Now, I'll give you a box of shelters if you can give me third position in this count.
I was going to say...
You will actually... I'll give you 10 guesses and you'll never get it. Errol Goulden. Errol wins his first.
Youngest player.
You thought Christian Petrarca was big money. 602 votes. 738 votes to Errol Goulden. 738. Seriously. Hang on.
Even if there's 10 votes per round, there's only 20 rounds.
Well, no. So, West Coast...
They might be doing pre-season like Bulldogs.
No, but West Coast do 5 coaches and you can get 3, 2, 1, 0 from all coaches. So you could get 0 on playing a game.
Yeah.
You could get 5. I don't think that's the same way here. I'd love to know how Sydney are doing their best and fairest because that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But the next best was 481. He's won by 300 votes.
He's pantsed them. and again, he flew home in the Brownlow like a good thing beaten almost.
30 votes a game, apparently. Jaden's just finding out, but apparently they give out 30 votes a game. Is that spread across the group?
Hang on, that doesn't make sense either. Because even if he gets 30 votes maximum through 20 rounds, what's that?
No, but I don't know. What, 600?
Well, so he must he must poll exceptionally well almost every game. And my maths 4 is probably going to be faltering here.
Seriously, if it's out of 30, it means he's got full marks for about 21 of the 24 games. It's a big year for
Dean
Errol.
Cox, can you get in touch with us to work out what the hell is going on in Sin City?
I'm sure Coxie is listening.
Who finished third, by the way? Just
Nick Blakey second, third place.
So
just have a guess.
The Lizard.
You would have no idea. Hang on.
50 votes a maximum.
Yes, you can have 50 votes. Imagine getting a 50 voter in a game. Seriously. That's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. Sydney, sort it out. Ridiculous. Third place. You'll never get it.
I'll never
You
get
may actually not even know who this is.
Okay. Joel and Marty.
No. James Rowbottom.
Oh, you number 8. I know him.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's a good player.
That's great. Do you think he was the third best player at Sydney?
I have no idea.
Oh, apparently he is. 5 coaches give 10 votes per game. You can get a maximum of 50 votes at Sydney. That's ridiculous, John Longmire. I'm here to tell you. Do a lot of things well at that football club.
Apart from wrestling.
Oh, gosh. Oh, don't bring that up. I'm sure he's still simmering about that. Just to finish off, Essendon submit paperwork for Ben Mackay is the other Essendon big name that we're talking about.
Yes.
And Todd Goldstein.
Yeah, so they're going big.
Raiding Essendon. North Melbourne, I should say.
North Melbourne. Ben Mackay, obviously, they've not sold the farm for him.
But bit of payback from Brad Scott.
Possibly.
Just raiding the old team.
The old team and trying to stitch him up there.
Dylan Shield not on the trade table, apparently.
Okay, fair enough. And Todd Goldstein, yeah. That's Bombers, Sydney, probably the two that are most active at the moment. I'm really fascinated to see what happens with the Eagles this week and sometimes.
I would like to see Freo just inject themselves in with a bit of a surprise trade. I'd like to see them cover some of the depth they're losing. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. Let's finish off with an AFLW run through. We both called the Freo game yesterday, Skeeter, and then some listener questions to finish us right off. West Coast defeated by GWS 44-24. They won last week, West Coast, their first win of the year. GWS come into this game unwon. They hadn't won a game. You like that?
Unwon.
You like that?
Yeah.
What should I have said?
Well, you should have said winless.
Thank you. Blacktown International Sports. But that's what you're here for. Hey, what's that? No, we're talking about GWS. Just listen along. Thank you, Jaden. Just shut the fuck up. I know it's difficult to listen. Thank you very much. Emma Swanson, we had her on BackChat this week. So although they lost on the weekend, she's very interesting to listen to. So make sure you jump over to BackChat podcast feed if you like. Look, she's a really interesting leader. And what I loved about the interview, she just says it how it was. She was really straight down the line, asked her some sort of harder questions around the performance of West Coast and being a leader and being a captain and being the best player. I loved it. So it's a great chat. So get over there. West Coast, AFLW side.
Kicked the first 2 goals as well of that game. So
Finished with 3 for the game.
Yeah, not huge. I've been to Blacktown actually for I think the Foxtel Cup. I took Barry Hall. I've met him at the airport for the first time ever.
Yep.
And met him and had to drive him up to Blacktown and in the hire car. Good fella.
Pull over and get a 6-pack on the way up.
We had some fun in that Foxtel Cup tour because myself.
Brad Johnson,
Dicko and Adam Ramanauskas and had a few of the boys, and geez, we got gas. But Hawley, good fella, although I was a bit scared meeting him for the first time. So I go, hi, Barry, my name's Mark. We're going to drive together up to Blacktown.
He made you drive?
Well, I drove, and he sort of sat there how far to go? I said, I'll just get there as quick as I can, Barry.
AFLW women's team for West Coast, they're on a slippery slope at the moment. Well, I suppose slippery slope would have them to start up at the top of the slope. They've been poor.
They've been poor, but I think some signs against Port, but yeah, they've got a lot of work to do. As do Fremantle, by the way. 45 points they lost yesterday. North Melbourne, to me, look one of the better sides in the competition. Talia Randall, I think it is, kicked 5 goals for them, and a player called Ash Riddell, really impressed. I think 38 touches.
One of the better. She's probably the best player in the league.
Is that right?
Yep, she was outstanding.
She was terrific. And look, I've got to be honest with you, I hadn't called a game for a long time. You and I discussed this on radio pre-game about where it's at, the competition. Because I hadn't seen much AFLW in the last year or two, I was sort of a bit sceptical. What I saw from North particularly, no, I was, they kicked 70-odd points. I thought that standard had certainly risen a cog or two from what I'd last seen. So, no, it was definitely watchable.
Yep, I agree, mate. Now, listener questions. Let's get into them. B Wood 2462 missed out on Robertson. So, what other strong midfielders can the Eagles get? Is Will Brodie an option? How can the Eagles get some good leaders in the midfield in their early to mid 20s with a bit of hardness? I feel with a young side, they will still need some strong examples on and off the field to drive standards. I agree with that, Woody.
I agree with it as well, but I'm just trying to think. I'm not sure Will Brodie's the answer.
No, I don't either.
For them. But by the same token, I can't, just trying to think of players that have even been spoken about to come to the club.
You can't just go and get a middle-aged 50 to 100 game player from someone.
No.
Difficult to come by.
Absolutely. I mean, the West Australian, the go-home factor is obviously helpful, but there doesn't seem to be anyone at the moment on their radar on that front. I might be wrong.
Be a good way to bring in from Joof. Thoughts on West Coast going for 21-year-old Trey Rusco as a backup player? He's just been delisted from Collingwood over the weekend. Yeah,
he wanted to come home earlier in the year. Well, certainly during the year there was a lot strong talk that he obviously wasn't getting a game, wasn't happy. He's probably going to get across and come back to WA irrespective, I think, unless he gets an offer on the East Coast. But yeah, to be honest with you, I haven't seen enough of Trey to say whether he's the bloke that should be targeted by West Coast.
I always thought Charlie Constable was a good player for Geelong, and then he played for Gold Coast last year. He captained their VFL side that won the premiership.
Yeah.
Perth's just signed him.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that, being a Perth man. But yeah, it's good. Maybe I'm not sure what the connection with Peter German is, but maybe there's something there. Wouldn't be surprised if he comes in and captains the side, to be honest with you.
A little mid-season look, maybe, for West Coast?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, he's a decent player and he'll be a very good waffle player.
They're the sort of guys I think West Coast should be adding more spots in their rookie list. Guys that have had some experience at AFL level, that are maybe playing state league footy, that can still play the game very well. Add 3 or 4 of them as rookies into the group. Play them in your waffle side. Improve your waffle side. I wouldn't be rookieing, from West Coast point of view, 18-year-old interstate guys that we don't know anything about. I think they should be really having a go at some mature age rookies. Throw some darts. That's where you throw your darts, not at the draft. And add some quality to their waffle side. Just my thoughts.
And whether it's a waffle type player that you get in that rookie, or as you say, scour the country and hopefully find a little nugget.
Now, Fremantle, we spoke about players they should be looking at. This is from Swarzy. Is that right? Thank you. Freo should try and get Jeremy Sharp, 22 years old, heavily chased by Freo last year, and he's just played VFL all year, so surely his price is lowered. He's a guy that could come, and he played some footy last year. I remember seeing him on the wing for Gold Coast. He's a guy that Fremantle could add to that mix to add some depth behind some of the players they've lost.
Yeah, you mentioned, as soon as you said Jeremy Sharp, I thought, well, that's where they were headed last year. That's what they were trying to get hold of him, and wasn't to be. So, yeah, that. Look, I'd be surprised, as you say, Sco, if they don't, the Dockers try to get some quality back into that side. And how they do it, Peter Bell and Co. will be will be, I'm sure, racking their brains and hopefully have something formulated by now.
Now, I tell you what, we've got a couple of crackers to finish today.
Yeah, okay, let's roll them out.
Michael Clare, not Clark, just missing the K. Someone tell Skeet his commentary on the Sheffield Shield is top notch. I want to have a beer with the man. How many fingers do you actually have in the pies? The Sheffield Shield.
Yeah, I did that Friday.
Who's that with? Who are you covering that with?
It was for KO and
Is that right?
cricket.com.au.
Is that right?
Yeah, just a little...
Sheffield Shield commentary.
I actually quite enjoyed it. It was good fun with Dave Lindsay and the team there. And,
Yeah, that would suit you. Like, there's a bit of
I love
feel,
cricket.
and you love your cricket. There's a bit of feel with cricket commentary, isn't there? It's not a high paced.
No, 100%.
There's a bit of
Wayne Clark. We were
storytelling.
talking about stories from the '90s, and just it was good. No, I enjoyed it. No, WA. We had our second string side in, and we obliterated Victoria on the weekend by innings and 50 odd runs. We've got a one-dayer on today, by the way, with the Wild thing.
So you only call one game of the Sheffield
No, I
Shield?
called one day because I had commitments on the Saturday with radio and Sunday calling the AFLW. But I quite enjoyed it. But
Very good feedback.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just like Seinfeld. Get in, make them laugh, and then leave. But thank you for the feedback. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, apparently you're very good at it. So I won't be tuning in. Now, now Jesse, this is my favourite of the week. Old mate. This is from Jesse. He says, old mate up the back looking schmicko. So he sent in a photo, Skeeter.
Okay.
This is from the State Library WA Instagram page. Would you have a look at this one, Skeeter? What do you think of that?
Well, I'm thinking I had a few more feathers back in the day. Barra's about 35 kilos lighter.
Michael Thompson down the bottom.
Tomo there, he's got his eyes closed. Todd Johnston, Dixie Marshall, Tina Altieri, and Terry Willisey. Alongside Bobby Harnett. So, yeah, that was... what year did they say that was?
This looks like straight out of Anchorman. Like, I'm telling you, this looks like Anchorman, and you look like Brick up the back. The bloke that puts knives in toasters. Jaden will put this one on social media.
Hey, hang on.
You genuinely just look happy to be here. Have a look at you.
Before you put that on anywhere, that has to... It's copyright. I think
It's already on Instagram, mate. It's too late, Skeeter. What do you want? You want some royalties out of
No,
this?
I just want to be able to monitor what my image is being portrayed
Well,
as.
I'll tell you what, get over to socials because Skeeter will be eating chips and looking like straight out of the
And then go back 30 years and see, there you go.
1995.
5 and 20. That's 28 years ago.
How old are you there? 28. So what are you, 45 or so?
I'm 53 and take 28. I was probably 25.
Wow. Fresh off the boat.
Yeah, I'm flying there. I reckon I was out nightclubbing every Friday and Saturday, going to work sport at Channel 9, and then
Tell you what, very very thin for 25 years old.
was I thin?
You look, it's quite,
Oh, you have a look at yourself at 25, you numbnut. See how you looked. even look back when you're 35 now in 10 years and see you travelling, brother.
Shelter FootyCast, that's us done and dusted.
There's always a stitch up, but that's
Yeah,
great.
great.
I enjoy it. Why would I move from this spot here?
Send more Mark Redding clips in right now, wherever you like. Footycast at shelterbrewing.com.au or on Instagram, Shelter FootyCast. See you next week. Actually, Thursday. See you Thursday.